It's a big matchup between ASU and Oklahoma State in Stillwater. And want to take a look at the Cowboys, and Kelly Hines of Tulsa World is joining us. Does a great job covering the Cowboys. You might have seen her on Zaven Collins, a nice guy from the middle of nowhere, did a great job covering Tulsa as well over the years. Kelly, thanks so much for joining us.
Anytime.
Now, I know that we're just 1 week into the season here, but I feel like you can still get a pretty good vibe of a team heading into camp and then after just one game. For Oklahoma State, if you could describe them in one or two words, how would you describe them?
Oh, that's tough. I'm not really able to keep things super concise with anything, but I think just kind of different on offense and defense and still trying to figure things out, especially on defense. So offense, I would say pretty good. Defense, I would say work in progress if you're going to hold me to keeping it to a few words.
But with this team, I mean, obviously Spencer Sanders, such a big part of that offense, can hurt defenses in so many different ways. Just what have you seen out of him early on in the season, and what can the Sun Devil defense expect from him?
I think the biggest thing with Spencer Sanders is, because he's a fourth year starting quarterback, he's so comfortable, with his role. And he's also very confident in his ability. So when you're able to combine those two things, I think that works out really well when you have someone who has that much talent. He definitely showcased that in the first game against Central Michigan. And I think he's going to be able to have a special season. He, had that type of year last year, but I think he's even in a better spot because of the personnel around him. Last year, Oklahoma State was playing freshman wide receivers, true freshmen, just because of a lack of experience and depth there. Those guys got a ton of experience last year, and now they're more comfortable. So Spencer talked a lot in the spring and leading up to the season about he wants to get everybody else feeling as comfortable as he is. And I think that just his role as a leader has really grown, and he's embraced that. And it's kind of been enjoyable to see him show that, go out there on the field and do that, and kind of be that type of quarterback. Because, even though those guys are more experienced, they're still on the younger side. So they need someone like him. And I've just really been impressed with how he carries himself. The Big 12 title game, when he had some turnovers last year and Oklahoma State lost that game, literally came up inches short. I think that was really difficult for him to accept, that he came up short in that game. But he's really been motivated by that. And I think he set himself up to have a really good year.
And you mentioned those skill position guys, plenty of youth last year. It seems like it's an equal opportunity offense that Spencer Sanders is not going to key in on one guy. But is there a guy that has really become an X factor or stepped out in those third and long situations to be that go-to receiver?
I think probably the one who stands out the most to me is Brennan Presley. He's from the Tulsa area, so we've kind of known about him for a long time. And he, has done really good things in his first two seasons. And he's kind of that guy, if you're going to have a go-to guy who's really clutch and can be really dynamic, he's more of a slot receiver. So maybe not third and long, but third and short, you're going to be looking for him. And he also, is used on special teams as a kick returner and punt returner. So to me, he's just an X factor in general. But Braden Johnson is a guy who missed all of last year except for one game, and he played really well in the season opener. So those are the two who really stand out to me. But oh my gosh, like you said, they're going to be spreading around quite a bit. John Paul Richardson is definitely one to watch. I mean, you could go down the list, but I think you saw some of that in the first game. Jaden Braden at play, and I don't know exactly what the situation is going to be with him for this week, but they definitely have some really good options.
We were watching the game in Tempe Thursday night. They were kicking off the season against NAU. That's when Oklahoma State was playing as well. And we saw the offensive numbers that Oklahoma State put up, but also the offensive numbers that Central Michigan put up. Is that a cause for concern for Oklahoma State? Is that more they took the foot off the gas late in the game and it was against twos and threes? Just where do you feel like the defense is coming out of that game?
I think it's a combination of those things. I think some of that was, Central Michigan did some different things as the game went on. And I think it was difficult for Oklahoma State to adjust to that because, they have a first year defensive coordinator and they have only 5 returning starters on defense. So even though they have some other guys who have been in games and key moments, maybe not the cohesion there yet. They had some really good guys who, graduated and moved on, and those have been really difficult to replace. So I think just, some inexperience there and just trying to get a feel for things. Mike Gundy said the communication on the field and even within the coaches, the coaching staff on the headsets wasn't quite where it needed to be. But, some of that's going to be because of the first game. So I feel like there's still a lot of potential with the defense. But that bar has been set so high because of what the defense did last season. And obviously, different personnel, different defensive coordinator. I think it's going to take a little bit of time, but I think this week is going to be more of a barometer as to where this team is, all the way around. Once you get into week 2, you're getting a better feel for your team, how they're going to perform. So I think it was a little bit disappointing, just to see how things went, especially in the fourth quarter, but there's reasons for that.
Mm-hmm. When asked about Arizona State, what has Coach Gundy, some of the players talked about first when the Sun Devils get brought up?
I think the biggest thing that stands out, with Arizona State is the NFL influence that, you don't really see that much in college football. And certainly with Oklahoma State's opponents, that there hasn't been a lot of that. So that's the biggest thing that stands out. But Mike Gundy has said, obviously, having a quarterback transfer from Florida who's a dual threat guy, he said, if we don't get to him, he's going to burn you with his legs. That's been a huge emphasis, with the defense. But I think he talked about how the defense is really athletic and really talented. And the other thing that really stood out about what he said was he thinks there's a chance that Arizona State didn't show much in week 1, like a little bit of strategy to prepare for this week. So I think maybe not really sure what you're going to get, and trying to prepare for that is a little bit difficult.
And what do you think is going to be the X factor for this game, or a couple key portions of the game that really could influence the outcome here?
Yeah, I think for Oklahoma State, it's probably going to come down to offense this week. I feel like just based on the different offenses that Oklahoma State has seen, I think its defense will somewhat be okay. I think there's probably more concern about what Arizona State is going to do defensively, being athletic and very familiar probably with what Oklahoma State does on offense, because that's not a secret. That hasn't changed in a long time. So I think that's probably the matchup that I want to see, especially, the run game didn't get super established last week just because of what Central Michigan did. And that's something that, there's not as much experience at running back for the Cowboys. So I know that's been a big point of emphasis, trying to get that established. Dominique Richardson is the starter, and they have some other good options behind him. So, maybe just how Arizona State's run defense matches up with Oklahoma State.
Kelly, thanks so much for the time and the insight. We appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing you on Saturday.
All right, I'll see you there.